2 years ago, I reviewed a very quirky 41mm, very 70s inspired looking watch from Phoibos, and today I have its baby brother in a 38mm variant. Now this watch does follow the same design layout as the original, only with a few minor tweaks and changes, which I'll share with you guys today. Let's check it out. Now I really like the uniqueness of the original Narwhal and its design strengths, and this 38mm seems to have followed the same direction as the bigger brother, and in reducing the size it's going to cater for a lot of smaller wrists. However, it's also lost one or two things along the way. None of them are deal breakers, but I'm going to mention them for you guys anyway. Now you saw the pop-up. Phoibos has sponsored this video. This watch has been sent out to the channel without the need to be returned. So I will of course leave all the links in the description section should you wish to check out this watch for yourselves. Now this watch reminds me of the first time that I ever saw the Seiko SKX 013. And for those who don't know, that's a 38mm variant of its bigger brother, the 007. Now when I first saw the 013, my first thoughts were, gee, that looks small, because I was used to the original 007 on my wrist. And when I say small, on my 18cm wrist, I was used to looking at the original Narwhal, and now coming in at 38mm, it feels small. But I get it. This is ideal for smaller wristed guys, and it's going to look exactly the same as what the 41mm does on my wrist. Now diving straight into the specs, you can see this one features a case diameter of 38 with a height of 11.7. The lug to lug is 46.1 with a lug width of 20. Now the crown is a 5.9mm signed screw down crown. The watch offers 200 meters of water resistance, and the total weight on this supplied bracelet sized to my 18cm wrist, I measure exactly 154 grams. Now placing this watch on my wrist, as you can see, the footprint is smaller than the original. In fact, if I do a side-by-side comparison, you can see that the original had a very 1970s vibe, as does this, but being a 1970s vibe, there were bigger watches on the wrist. And this one here, it seems to have lost it, for me, on my wrist. But place this on a 6-inch wrist and smaller, this is going to look great. Now what it's gained is wearability, because at a smaller footprint, it is really comfortable. The bracelet design on this watch is exactly the same as the original, albeit this is 20, the original was 22. It's got a nice taper up to 18, it features screw pins, a fully milled swivel and clasp, and that clasp still offers 3 micro adjustments. Now I did say that this watch has lost in a few areas, and one of them is the water resistance, because the 41mm was 300 meters and this one is 200. Now not that that matters to any of us, it's neither here nor there, but as I mentioned, it's also lost in wrist presence and a slightly smaller crown, which I'll share with you guys. And designing a dive style watch for smaller wrists, I think they've done this beautifully. They've kept the proportions exactly the same as the original, but smaller. Now the crystal on this watch is a flat sapphire crystal with very good use of AR. The original did have a very subtle double dome sapphire, this one's flat. Legibility has been great, as well as the thinner case profile because of that flat sapphire. Now the movement has remained the same. You still got the Miyota 9015, proper date version, hack hand winding, about 42 hours power reserve. So in that regard, you still got a very nice workhorse, and a reliable one at that. Now if I turn my attention to the bezel, the watch still offers a 120 click unidirectional with a ceramic insert that's lume filled. And the action, for me, it's exactly the same as the original. It's nice and crisp, nice and loud. And it lines up absolutely perfect. And as with the original model, they seem to have done the same exact job with the lume. The lume on the original had 2 different types of superluminova, 15 layers of BGW9 and C3. This one has the same, and it is exceptional. So they've not skimped out on the lume. I'm very pleased about that, because the watch does glow very nicely here. And on this particular model, I think the hero is that dial. You've got a dark blue aventurine, very moody, excellent light play, and it's subtle enough to be noticed only when paying close attention to the watch. And that's a good thing, I like that. Lastly, before I get onto the gripes, the price. The watch is going to retail for $490 US. However, upon launch, there's a $100 discount that they're offering on this piece, which brings it down to $390 USD, and I think that's pretty decent, as the finishing quality, loom, and overall footprint has been really nice. Now I'm going to do something different here, guys. I'm going to share my gripe sections, and I'm going to tell you what they fixed from the original to this, but I'm also going to show you the gripes of this particular watch. And firstly, the original watch had a lug-to-lug of 50.1mm. This one here is 46.1. So it's a much more usable watch on many wrist sizes. And that's a welcome addition. Secondly, that bracelet, which is designed exactly like the original 9-link, I had troubles putting the male and female links in together when I first sized that watch up. This one here, the tolerances are right. I've not had any issues whatsoever. So again, another problem fixed. Next gripe for me on the original was that minute hand. It was quite short. It didn't extend out too far from the center, and I really didn't like it. It really was one of my complaints, and this one here seems to reach that minute track very nicely, so setting an accurate time is a lot easier on this watch. And my last gripe, which they changed from the original to this, is the weight. The original came in at 178 grams, this one down to 154. And even for me, that's a lot more wearable, and that's a big plus. And on that note, what are the gripes still left on this watch? And number one, that clasp. The watch still doesn't offer on-the-fly micro adjustability. It would have been nice, or even an extra hole here would have been welcome for that odd wrist size. But in saying that, I've worn this watch a little bit loose throughout the week, and for my wrist size, I've not had to adjust it. It's been fine. Next gripe for me, this watch and the other color variants of this model, they're limited to 100 pieces only. Albeit they are numbered editions, which is a nice thing, but really not necessary as far as I'm concerned. And my last gripe, and this is a little bit personal, is that crown. The original seemed to be a lot more user-friendly. This one coming in at 5.9, the original 6.3, it just felt better in my hands. But I get it, reducing the size and keeping proportions right, they followed suit with that crown as well. By reducing the case size and bracelet and crown and dial, I think they've really nailed this. It seems to give off the same vibe, and as I mentioned, a smaller wrist, a 5 or 6 inch wrist, this is going to be ideal. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Hit me up in the comments, let me know what you think of this new model from Phoibos. Build quality has been very good, it's been a solid piece in the hand and on the wrist, and as far as legibility goes, it's been just as easy to read, even for older eyes. Thanks again for watching, continue to enjoy this hobby, and we'll see you in the next one.